All right, what's going on, everybody? My name is Billy, and I am the owner of Renegade RC and this page here. and I guess I'm going to attempt to make this the first installment on this page and or on this channel. I'll get it right in a minute. Tell you a little bit about me and how where I'm going to be going with this. Um, 49 years old, from a little town in North Carolina called Fuquay-Varina. Originally born in the capital city of Raleigh back in 1971, and had a pretty decent childhood. And up for the first few years, um, became a victim of depression shortly after 1978. When I was 78, in 1978, I was 7 years old, and I lost my father to a suicide. Uh, my dad was in Vietnam. I'm not sure how many tours. I was told two. I don't really know that much about him. A lot of my dad's family's died off since then, and so I don't know a lot about him. Uh, Sad to say that I own less than 12 pictures of my father. Uh, those being the only things that I have of him anymore. So needless to say, I I was thrust into a depression at a wicked early age. Um, saw many uh, therapists about it when I was young. It affected me really bad. Um, was a sad kid. Uh, Ultimately made me a loner. Uh, it affected me terribly in school. Uh, my my middle school and high school years were horrible. Um, had a stepfather shortly after. It was a horrible individual. Used to like to use me as a verbal punching bag, and sometimes a physical punching bag, depending. So those years were pretty somber for me. I wasn't a rebellious kid. I was always uh, more of a loner, I guess. I did have friends, but um, looking back on it now, I wore a lot of masks, and because I didn't want anybody to know what was really going on the inside. It was uh, it was hard to find any happiness when I was younger. Uh, did terrible in school. I'll be the first one to admit it. I did horrible in school. Uh, I and I could have done a lot better, but I don't know. I guess for some reason I chose just to not to apply myself. I don't know. Kind of gave up. Those things stuck with me for a long time, and it's something that I battle still today. You know, at any given time. Um, what I want to do with all these is I'm not trying to tell a life story, but I want to try to maybe help somebody else that's going through something and maybe looking for ways to get by. Uh, I can tell you the one thing that helped me get by when I was younger, and I'd say in my teenage years, is I really threw myself into music. Um, and I've never been much of a player. I do play guitar, and I fancy myself as some sort of drummer, but I'm not like a pro. But I can keep a rhythm. I played on a couple friends' kits and things like that. But I really threw myself into music and writing. Uh, I am horrible at doing these videos without any kind of production. I always do these things Just throw them together. I don't. Once in a blue moon, I'll plant them, even on the RC page. Usually, I just get an idea and just throw myself at it. But uh, I can write. I can really do some decent writing, and so I threw myself into music and creative writing at an early age. I'll say early. I'd say in my teenage years, and it was a way for me to, because I could never tell anybody how I was feeling. It was a major thing for me. Uh, I had a hard time telling you how I felt uh, out of fear of being looked on as being needy or some sort of that, or fear of embarrassment. You know, look around and my other friends weren't having these issues, but here I am, or there I was, and sure enough, right in dead middle of it. So I turned to writing, and I could write, and I still do. I write a lot of stuff, and not that I'm some, Hemingway or anything like that, but I can write things a lot easier than I can just do things on the fly or to tell you about them verbally. Um, and I always loved music. My grandfather was a steel guitar player. He was a acoustic guitar player, just really into music. He got me into it also, and we used to play together. And when I was a kid with him, when I was in my teenage years, over at his house in the living room, and uh, I look back on those things fondly. I miss those. I give anything to be able to go back and play with him again. uh, he gave me a massive love for music and a killer ear for music too. Well, that's a whole nother video, um, but yeah, music got me through, and writing got me through, and so I started to combine the two. Some when I was in my 20s, and started to go about writing music and writing songs, and I got really close to Nashville one time back in 1996, I think it was. I wrote a song and was pitching it around on my friend. You got to write this stuff, and I could never tell you how I feel. But if I wrote it, let me just find something. For example, if I put it down on this pad, I wrote down how I felt about it. I could touch this pad. I could literally touch this pad. Makes it tangible. It's a tangible feeling in a way. And then I could take this pad and I could put it away. I could put it over here, put it on a shelf or whatever. And from that point on, it's gone. At least it was for me. It was gone. And so it was a way for me to make these things to where they're not just feelings, but they're something I could actually put away physically. And man, when I discovered that, I went at it hard, real hard. And but I wrote some stuff, and I got real close. Like I said, in '96, I wrote a song and pitched it around a couple places. Pitched it around, started, just before the internet and things. And I had a phone in my house. I rented bought a single wide trailer in Apex, and I've had a phone in there, obviously. And so I got in there and I started calling information for Nashville, and I got all the record label numbers, and I had fancied myself getting in touch with Arista Records out of Nashville, Tennessee. Arista or Curb Records in Nashville. And pitched this song, put a package together, pitched it, sent it to them, and got about that close. Had an offer. Me being a young, dumb, stupid somebody, thought, well, God, that's way cheap. No, I won't sell it for that. And so, being a nobody, they just like, okay, well, forget it. And that was, if I'd have been smarter back then, if I could go back in time, They could have given me $5 for it as long as I got my foot in the door. I'd have been okay. But looking back on it now, yeah, that was a pretty stupid move. But it showed me that maybe I had a little bit of talent in it, and so I stayed with it for a long time. But I never pitched anything else. I just write stuff and uh, put it away. And I do have a catalog in there of stuff, but it was all stuff that I was going through. Uh, we would put stuff together from once in a while, and it would be on a whim and trying to write something snappy and upbeat. Oh God, we're going to sell this record, and it wouldn't hold water. It was just you could. I mean, it was okay at the time. It was okay, but it's just like you could tell. But when I really got my head and was thinking about my life or what a certain situation that I was going through, and I put stuff down on paper, that's when uh, two things would happen. One, and least important to me now, is I would have something that I could honestly try to pitch to somebody. Okay, it's neither here nor there. But two, I was working out or facing problems that I hadn't faced head on in my life, and it allowed me to do that. And so I still try to do that from time to time. I don't talk about it a lot because a lot of people, when you tell them that you write that kind of stuff, they're like, "Oh, bullshit, you don't." And then you gotta, you know, not to be condescending, and then you got to break out stuff and show them, what you've written and things that's gone on it, you know. And I kind of feel like whenever I've done that, people look at you kind of different, like, "Oh man, that's kind of weird." Maybe they do, maybe they don't, but uh, it's always been a side that I don't talk about a lot, and I cannot believe that I'm talking about it here. Because I don't know who. I know there's only like 19 people that subscribe to this thing, and they're probably not expecting a video like this because this was a former RC channel itself. But uh, I don't know, man. I just if you got something that you're working and that it's in your head, you you won't open up about it. You don't want to open up about it because you're that guy like I was. People are going to look at you differently, or think of you differently, or think less of you. You know what? All the things that go through our heads. I'm telling you, put it to try. Just give it a shot one time. Even if you have, then great. If you haven't, just try putting it down on paper. You don't have to put it in a form of poetry or anything like that, or trying to write music like we did, and just put it down on paper. Just write yourself a letter. You know, uh, Mercy Me's got a terrific song called "Dear Younger Me," where Bart uh, Bart Miller, lead singer for him, hell of a guy, nice, fantastic individual. Uh, Basically did that. He wrote himself a letter to try to work through some of the pain that he lived through, and essentially, in a roundabout way, that's what I do too. It's just that I tend to, it tends to flow a little poetically, and then I hear tunes, or try to put it down with a tune that I may have been working on for years in my head with a guitar, just have nothing to put with it, and it just, maybe it works, maybe it doesn't, but either way, I've got it on paper and I've dealt with it. I've met it head on. I haven't run from it anymore, and those kind of things have helped me tremendously in my life. And I'd urge you, just give it a shot one time, see how it works for you. If it works, great. If it doesn't, it was worth a shot. The last thing we want to do is just let this stuff run around and around and around in our heads and drive us crazy and get us to that point where you're standing at that threshold. Everybody knows what that threshold is, because trust me, I've been there too. 3 times in my life I've been there, and I never want to go there again. I'm praying you don't either. So that being said, I'm not going to call these out. I hate episodes. Who's episode? First installment of this. How about that? And these things will get better, I promise. I'll open up a little more. You're not alone. Don't ever think you're alone. You're not worthless, you're not hopeless, and you're not useless. Don't let those words creep into your head because they are so damaging. They can ruin an individual because they almost did me. Pray this finds you healthy. Pray it finds you happy. Pray you're doing well. If there's anything I can do for anybody, please feel free to message me directly. Find a way to get a hold of me. If it's through YouTube here or whatever. My other channel is called Renegade RC. I hang out on that a lot more than I do this one here. So if you don't get me here, get me over there. You guys take good care of yourself. Just remember, you're not by yourself. Never be afraid to reach out because somebody cares. Trust me. Took a long time to realize that, but somebody does care. You guys take care. We'll see you on the next one. Till then, God bless America. How about that? I could never think of how to end this. See ya. Y'all be good.